Hey guys, so we are back for this week's video. So today we had the kids, so we took them to school, we got the gym done, and that's pretty much all we did today. Yeah. So now we're doing we're gonna record a video and then we're gonna do a little bit of work. But thank you guys for our last video. We did the open relationships. So thank you for all the feedback on that. It was really interesting just to read like everyone's views and comments and things like that. So we appreciate that. Yeah. And then today our topic is something that we've actually recorded a couple of times,
quite a bit,
but we just never shared it.
Yeah.
Why?
I think the events going on in our life and just kind of deciding on what boundaries we wanted to open up and
how much we wanted to share. How much we wanted to share.
Yeah.
We were still learning stuff as a couple.
Well, I think we were just learning on how to navigate having our lives on social media in general and not really knowing what YouTube is and what kind of a platform or power that it does have and effects on our lives. But we figured that since this topic is something that I think everyone can really relate to, I get so nervous talking about it. And I really do. Well, it's a very vulnerable place for us. And I think that's what we need to set this whole foundation for this video on, is just a clear understanding that this comes from a place where we're kind of exposing a lot of like who we are and kind of what makes us who we are today. So, and
I think I get really nervous because I feel like it's something that's like so far in my past that it's like done with. It was a really hard time and thing to go through. And then now that I'm through it, like it's one of those things like I kind of want to keep it in the past. And it just, when you think about it, it brings up a lot of emotions. At least for me it does. Cause I'm like, even last time we recorded, which was months ago, I remember I got so like,
we've been through so much too, I think, as individuals and as a couple. I think it's one of those things where we have had to get over some of these like kind of, I don't know if they're like hurt feelings. They're not hurt feelings. It's just
a lot of pain.
There's a lot of pain.
And growth is a good word. I think growth's a good word.
That's a great word. Wait, did we even introduce the topic?
No, but that's good. Because
drum roll.
The title will give it away. So you guys will know right now. Okay, so today's topic is our coming out stories. We might have to break it up into 2 segments depending on how long we go, because it's probably already 10 minutes in just the intro. But I guess just to get into it, we wanted to share our experiences coming out. And by no ways are we saying this is like what you have to do or anything like that. It's just our personal experiences and the things that we did to come out to family, friends, the world, basically. Life. And so, yeah. Okay. Do you want to go? I'll go first because mine's a little simpler, I think. I'm not trying to like downplay mine or play yours, but
sure.
I'll go first. So my coming out story. So I guess I always knew. I guess a little kid, I didn't know, but I was always attracted to men and the male body and things like that. And then once I went on a Mormon mission, I came home, and that's when I really had to face it, because it's like, oh, you're supposed to get married, you're supposed to date girls. And that was the first time I literally had to just face it head on. I couldn't have distractions or have something to like blame it on. So I got home from my mission, and I went on one date with one girl after my mission, and that was like all I could take. So I went on a date, super awkward, because at the end of the day, I was like, okay, I'm supposed to kiss her. I'm supposed to like this. But I was just so awkward, so I gave her like this awkward hug, and that was it. And after that, I was like, okay, I'm going to like sit I lived with my mom at the time, my parents. I'm going to sit in her basement. I'm just going to be like a miserable person and just like try to stay busy. So like no one asks me questions. If they ask why I'm not dating, I'll just say I'm going to school, I'm busy. And I like literally made up my mind that I would never ever come out or tell anyone I was gay. And I was like set in stone. So for me to be like recording a video for anyone to watch is like crazy to think about now. Yeah. But I've come a long ways. So God, it's so much. Like, it's so much to put in a video.
It is.
I hope I'm not rushing it. Okay. So I guess the first person I told were my sisters. I had to think about it.
Yeah.
So I texted my older sister, Stacia, and I was like, I just sent her a text. I'm like, hey, I have something to tell you. And she's like, what? I said, I'm gay. And then she was just like, oh, well, what are you going to do? And I was like, I don't know. And then she's like, well, I love you, like, no matter what. And that was that. And then my younger sister, which I'm super close with, and I thought she totally knew. And this was probably the stupidest way to like come out to someone, but anyways, it was on Snap. She sent me a Snapchat, and then I like wrote back. I'm like, hey, I need to tell you something. She's like, what? And then I said, I'm gay. And then she says, I know, haha. And then I'm like, oh my god, like she already knew. And then like that was all. And then like the next time I saw her, we were driving in Salt Lake, and then I started like crying. I'm like, cause you know my big secret now. She's like, what's your big secret? And I'm like, I'm gay. And she's like, oh, what do you mean? And she didn't even remember that little like Snapchat thing. Okay. So I was like crying in the car to her, and then she's like, oh, like she's like, I didn't even know. And I was like, I don't know how you didn't know, because yeah. I'm so bad at storytelling. Okay, sorry. Okay, so then my next one was like, okay, I have to tell my mom I'm gay. How am I going to do this? So I think I texted her. I was like, hey, let's go to dinner. Because we go to dinner like once a week. So I was like, hey, let's go to this place. And I said, before you get out of the car, just stay in the car. When I get there, I have something I need to tell you. So I got to the restaurant. I got in the car. You're her and I'm me. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, I don't know how to say this. And then she just gets really scared. She's like, what is happening? And then I'm just like, I'm gay. And then she just got like a big smile on her face. And I was like, why are you smiling? Like, this is so awkward and uncomfortable. And I even feel awkward and uncomfortable right now. And she's just like, yeah, I guess I always knew. She's like, I never really thought about it, but once you said it, she's like, yeah, I always knew. And she's like, do you have a boyfriend, or why are you telling me this all of a sudden? And I was like, no, I just like needed to tell you finally. And then like, that was it. And I was like, oh. So I think I was like looking for like this huge, it was a big relief, but I think I was looking for it to fix all my problems, because I was like, oh, I said it and no one really cares. I thought it was going to be like different. I just thought like, oh my gosh, life's so fun now. But it was just like, oh, I told them, and I still have to like go on with life and figure things out.
Yeah.
So that was like the main people that I told. And then I didn't really tell anyone else. I guess I just started posting pictures and stuff. I don't know how everyone else found out.
Yeah.
After that, I was like, whatever. And I just kind of lived my life. And then now, obviously, I post pictures, which was really scary at first, but you do it enough and it's not scary.
Anything that you do long enough isn't going to be scary after a while.
Yeah. Do you think that makes sense?
It does. It's really sweet.
It feels so uncomfortable.
I know. It's
so vulnerable.
It is. And I think that's what probably scares me the most. I think you did a great job.
Thank you.
I don't think there's anything to do from that. Okay.
Thank you. I don't. I think it just brings up so much.
I know.
Because you know when you feel like red right here, that's what I feel.
I feel it too. Gosh. Do you want me to...
Okay, one last thing I want to add, and then we might stop it and start it again.
No, I think it's fine.
Okay. So the last thing is I never did like a social media post where like because I think that's kind of common, just to kind of let everyone know. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I would have done that just so people would have known, because it gets so exhausting and like vulnerable and uncomfortable when you need to like tell every single person that comes into your life. Because it's like, why do we have to talk about this? Why? Like, I don't have to talk about you're straight, things like that. So yeah, I think that's why posting helped, because mass amount of people could just see, oh, he's gay, cool. We don't need to even have an awkward conversation when we see him, which is like the beauty of the internet in some way.
Yeah.
So that's my story. I hope that I like told it in a way that made sense.
I think you
did.
Yeah. I think you did.
I'm overthinking it.
Yeah. I think it's easy to overthink things that feel very vulnerable and oftentimes feel kind of like an unsettled ground, because even though it has settled, the dust is settled. I think it's also easy to feel like you can like raise up the dust and kind of feel all these waves of emotion. And yeah, I think my story is so complicated because my coming out wasn't just like a section of my my life.
There's like 20
it's
coming out
like,
stories for him.
It's like it
we might have to do a series.
It covers so much, so many years of my life, because really, the first time I really came out of the closet, I mean, I guess I could say like growing up, I'd always had like an inkling, but as far as like sexuality goes, it wasn't something that I really thought about. Like I never sat there and thought like, oh, I want to engage in sexual relations with, X, Y, Z. You know what I'm saying? It's not like, it wasn't like a conscious thought for me. It was really just like like this actually is kind of like where my attention is going. And it didn't really like hit me until later on in life. I'd say high school. Really, junior high, I got pretty heckled for being, I guess, like femi or gay. I got picked on quite a bit growing up. And high school, I always got mocked and teased. And, I had friends who...
You got bullied a lot.
I got bullied. Like, I got bullied so much, especially for like the gay thing. And it's like, I think the more I got bullied, the more it kind of pushed me into the closet, because for me, I'm so sensitive. It was so painful to deal with that I didn't ever give it too much of my time or attention. So I didn't really allow myself. I just knew that if I became more righteous or more involved with my church or my religion, that I would be able to mask sort of like the pains that I was feeling in life. And I
think a big thing too is that he was raised in Utah.
Yeah.
So there was a lot more, it wasn't such a common thing. I was raised in California, where it's a little bit more
and really
back.
The significance in being raised in Utah is that it's such a concentration of highly religious people who live and do and breathe and think pretty much the same thing. It's like you have a set schedule and life already planned for you. Mm-hmm. And this is coming back in a time like now it's a little bit more relaxed. I think people kind of are over this idea of what it means to like live your life in the kind of pathway that you should follow. Sure, it's still there. But for me, at least, I had like my whole life planned. I was at the age of 8, I was going to be baptized. At the age of 12, I was going to receive the Mormon priesthood and go to church. And then I was going to be a teacher and a priest. And I was going to pass a sacrament. And then I was going to serve a mission. And then after my mission, I was going to get married in the temple. So it was like this whole life thing that was actually already laid out for me, where I didn't really allow myself the opportunity to think for myself. I didn't allow any sort of outside influence to really get to me either. I just kind of shut off. And that could also be a list of other reasons, which I'm not really going to get into. But I would have to say that the first time I actually really admitted to myself on an outward basis that I was attracted to men was when I was serving my Mormon mission, my 2-year mission. I was actually called out by another missionary who happened to be an older, retired missionary, and he was coming to do a routine checkup on some of the apartments that we lived in, and he kind of called me out, and I was instantly offended. I was like, no, like, don't talk to me about that. And then that's when the tears turned on, and I could not turn them off. And he gave me the biggest hug, and he was just very supportive and very loving. It was probably the most comfort that I felt, almost like a weight that came off my shoulders. At the same time, it scared me because I didn't want to be sent home for being gay. I didn't want to be sent home where I felt like I needed to feel ashamed of myself for something that I hadn't even done or acted out on. And according to the LDS or Mormon Church, if you are, it's a pretty big deal. So a really traumatic thing happened to me during the mission, and that was that senior missionary, he actually died during the mission field, and it was so troublesome for me. there was a lot of like heartache and like just pain. It was just a really painful time for me to experience that. And I hadn't really experienced death at that level or at that time of my life. I've never been to a funeral, but he had passed away, and it was somebody who knew my deepest, darkest secret. And it traumatized me in a way that it kind of forced me back in the closet. I needed to be the best person that I could be. I had to, be this strong missionary and just finish out strong. So I did. And I finished up my mission. I finished my 2-year mission. I came back home, started spending time with a childhood friend of mine who we just kind of were at home at the same time. And we started hanging out. And then a time came when it was like, hey, like, what are we doing here? Is this like a relationship? And are we, what are we doing here? And I had all these like concerns for myself, and I went and spoke to one of my church leaders, and as I had this conversation with him, because I was so nervous to actually announce this to one of my church leaders who could actually have a say on whether or not I was worthy to exist, so to speak, or worthy of God's love. And so I opened up and I said, I'm attracted to men, because I couldn't say the word gay. At the time, saying the word gay was almost like, it was just kind of...
Because that means like you've given up.
Yeah, it does. It's kind of like I
give up on God and my life.
Yeah. So I couldn't say it. I was like, I'm attracted to men. And he was like, I don't think you are. I really don't think that you are. I think that what you are is a troubled person who has experienced a lot of heartache and pain throughout your life. And I think with counseling and church attendance and temple attendance, those are those big white buildings, and worship, you're basically going to soar through this life in Holy Spirithood. I don't know. But he did say that I was going to get over this. He said I was going to get over this whole being attracted to men, or thinking that I was attracted to men. He said, what you are is sexually confused. And so I took that and I was like, okay, I need to go and talk to, this girl who I really care about. She's been my support. She was actually the first person that knocked on my door as a child, moving into the neighborhood. So, we had this like little sit down conversation in my car, and I was like, listen, I know you want to get married. I know that that's what you're thinking. But I don't think I can marry you. And, she's like, well, why not? I said, well, I talked to the bishop today, and he told me it's because I'm sexually confused. And I'm worried that that's going to be a problem for us. And she was just like, we had this conversation. She cried, I cried, and we came to the terms that, through a lot of prayer and through like being honest with each other, that we could make something work. Needless to say, that's when we got married. We had a Mormon wedding, and I started going to counseling, and I started working on my attraction.
Well, because in the Mormon church, they tell you to go to therapy.
Just wanted to see.
They tell you to go to therapy so you can like become ungay.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Well, I was trying to reverse or somehow get rid of this whole concept, because I didn't think that it was this whole idea that like, because that's not natural, because a man and a woman are the only two who can bring children into the world or whatnot. That's what I was ingrained with, this idea that you weren't worthy and there was something wrong, and so you need to go get fixed. And so for me, like, being fixed meant, do the hard work, go to therapy. And I did, but I actually found that going to therapy only helped me to love myself and accept myself. And that was really ultimately what it boiled down to, was that when I finally learned that it's okay to love who I am, that I'm okay and I can actually, make it through anything. And so it was a year into my marriage, a year and a half, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and I didn't have the fear that I did, the year before that, or 2 years before that, or even the whole lifetime before that. And I had this sit down conversation with her, and I said, so I'm not afraid to say the word gay anymore, but I am gay and I know it's not going away. And she goes, okay, I figured that's what you're referring to. And so, now what? And we both asked each other the same thing, like, now what? And we came to this conclusion at that moment that we had already settled on this pathway where we were dedicated to our church, our religion, and the decisions that we made to be married for the church. And so we just went right ahead and continued our relationship with each other, raising the kids, and put up a really good fight, for the sake of the relationship and for the kids. Then 8 years into our marriage was when we just realized that the paths that we were on were not adding up. We had learned a lot about ourselves. We had learned a lot about our religion and what we really believe in. And so we both knew that at that time that we didn't believe what we were taught and born with, that we didn't have those same set of ideas and beliefs that we had once before. And therefore, what was the point of being in an unhealthy mixed orientation marriage? And so for us, that meant that we needed to get a divorce so that we could be healthy and happy and show our kids what it means to be truly authentic. And so for that's really when my whole world kind of changed as far as like becoming who I am as an individual, as a gay man, but also more self-loving and more proud of who I am and the accomplishments that I've made just from going through all of that. I mean, it was a really hard process for me, but
and long.
It was long. It was the longest
years and years.
It was long and it was hard, but I was very, very, I don't know if the word ingrained into my religion is really it, but I was so convinced that, my pathway was meant to be in the church or in this church. And I think a lot of us can relate to that. I know I've gotten a lot of messages from people who have really, stated how they feel as far as being raised in the church and feeling this sort of unworthiness because they're gay. But here's the thing. I really truly believe in my heart that we are all worthy of love. We're all worthy to be who we are, and we're all meant to become who we truly are. I think true potential really comes when we allow ourselves to be who we are and stop fighting against our own grain. Our own grain is like who we naturally are, and I think only we know like what that really is. So anyway, I really did officially come out, so to speak. I didn't really make any big announcements like Chad did. I just kind of allowed it to happen. I talked to my parents before. I think my mom told my dad. I don't know. There's a lot of just kind of like assumption that I already was, and I think it wasn't like a big surprise for many people. So I just, instead of saying, doing a big bang, here I am, loud and proud, glitter, rainbows, it was more just, it was more so just me being like, you know what? I don't exactly like what you said. But you had
kids and you were like older, so it's like a whole different, you know what I mean? Yeah. You're like, I'm worried about my kids. I don't really care who thinks or what.
I don't have anything to really like announce, and I didn't really have like too many people in my life, but I think as far as anybody who knew me, they weren't really surprised, and I didn't really need to announce it to anybody. For those who were in my life, I did talk to you about it. I love you. Thank you for supporting me. But yeah, it was just like one-on-one like conversations that I had, and really I didn't have any negative feedback. I didn't have any negative feedback. I think people were all just like, yeah, I figured, and you know what, like, just so you know, like, you're still loved. And ultimately, that's what it boils down to. Like, I think our biggest fear is that we are not going to be loved, and therefore we can all just take that step of like faith forward and just know that you're going to be loved. And if you don't think you are because of certain circumstances, know that somebody out there will love and support you and help you and hold your hand through it, because it can be scary, especially with, societal norms and things that people have already set forth. So it's surprising that even now in 2018 that we're still having this conversation of coming out, when it's like, I don't have to come out for being, people don't have to come out for being straight, it's a unique situation, but it is what it is. And for us, it's normal. So
But yeah, I think we really wanted to share this just to like share our experience, just so people can kind of understand. I think to even like help people if you are like in that process, or if you haven't come out, just like that you aren't alone, and it's just like can be a really hard time, but it can be a time for a lot of growth too. So just to like kind of be patient with yourself, love yourself, and just even if like family and friends don't agree, just like there are people out there are resources, things that you can do to like get that support that you need.
You are loved, and if you do need help, or you're feeling a lot of recognition with your life value, don't hesitate to call the Trevor Project. Don't hesitate.
We'll put the information up on here too.
Yeah, we'll put so. All right, sending love to all.
Yeah. So thanks for watching,
Thanks
guys.
for watching.
Hope you guys liked it. If you guys do have any other questions, comment them below, because I know there might be a lot of questions. We can't promise to answer all of them depending on what they are, but we would love to answer and give some more insight on that. So let us know, and we will see you guys next time.
Yep. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.